That's the way he rolls. Free Speech Union Chief Toby Young mocks Keir Starmer over PM over-the-top threat to ban X on live TV. Keir Starmer just threatened to ban X, and Toby Young's response was essentially, "Yeah, sure mate, we'll believe it when we see it, but you'll probably U-turn in a week anyway because that's literally all you do." It's the political equivalent of your mate saying they're definitely going to the gym this time while you're already mentally preparing to see them on the sofa eating crisps by Wednesday. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, and today we're unpacking why the Prime Minister's latest tough guy posturing about banning Elon Musk's platform has absolutely nobody convinced, why even America is getting involved with sanction threats, and why Starmer's habit of announcing things and then immediately reversing them has become such a reliable pattern that people are now predicting the U-turn before the policy's even implemented. I'm bringing you multiple videos today because British politics is currently producing more material than a particularly productive chicken farm, and someone's got to make sense of the chaos. So let's dive into why threatening to ban X is simultaneously authoritarian overreach and completely unconvincing, and what it says about a prime minister whose word has become so unreliable that even his threats aren't taken seriously. Right, so the Free Speech Union's Toby Young has absolutely called Starmer's bluff on this X ban threat, and his reasoning is beautifully simple. Starmer's going to announce he's doing it, start doing it, and then U-turn, because, quote, that's the way he rolls. It's not even criticism at this point, it's just pattern recognition, like predicting rain in Manchester or delays on Southern Rail. Betting on a Starmer U-turn has become the safest wager in British politics. You could make serious money if bookies offered odds on how long his policies last before being reversed. The context here is that Downing Street's threatened a crackdown on X over sexualized AI images created by Grok, the platform's AI chatbot. We covered this in another video, but the quick version is that Grok was being used to create non-consensual sexual imagery, including of minors, which is genuinely horrific and needs addressing. X restricted the feature to paying subscribers with verified identities, and now the government's talking about potentially blocking the entire platform. It's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, except the sledgehammer is made of foam and everyone knows you're not actually going to swing it anyway. Young's point about this being hard to take seriously is spot on. When a politician has built a track record of backing down from literally everything controversial they announce, their threats start sounding like a parent saying, "I'm going to count to 3 for the 15th time," while the kid knows absolutely nothing's going to happen. Starmer's furrowed-browed condemnation might look stern, but everyone's seen this performance before. He looks serious, sounds serious, and then folds like a cheap deck chair the moment there's pushback. The technical justification for targeting X specifically makes no sense, which Young correctly highlights. Every AI can generate similar content. Google's Gemini can do it, ChatGPT can do it, Photoshop's been doing it for decades. If the concern is genuinely about AI-generated sexual imagery, why is the government only threatening X? Could it possibly be because X is the platform where Starmer gets absolutely hammered daily by people who aren't filtered through traditional media gatekeepers, where his failures are highlighted in real time, where ordinary people can call him out directly? Surely not. That would be cynical. X has already taken steps to modify Grok, restricting it to paid users who've identified. Is that perfect? No. Should more be done? Probably. But does it justify banning an entire social media platform used by millions for legitimate purposes? Absolutely not. The response is wildly disproportionate, which strongly suggests it's not really about the stated concern at all. Young nails it when he says X is seen as a platform for government enemies because it's a free speech platform. That's the real issue. Traditional media can be managed, influenced, given exclusive access in exchange for favorable coverage. Social media platforms with strong moderation can be pressured to remove content governments dislike. But X under Musk has positioned itself as prioritizing free speech, which means politicians can't control the narrative as easily. That's threatening to any government, but especially to one as unpopular as Starmer's, that's facing constant legitimate criticism. Elon Musk makes a convenient boogeyman, Young points out. Labor ministers can point at him, denounce him, and get cheers from their own benches. He's a billionaire, he's controversial, he owns a platform they hate, he's criticized their policies publicly. Attacking him plays well with their base and lets them look tough without actually having to do anything difficult. Except, of course, when you threaten sanctions against someone who's best mates with the American president, there might be consequences you haven't thought through. Which brings us to the delicious irony of this whole situation. Britain and the US just announced a £56 billion tech trade deal with grand fanfare. Starmer's government is pinning economic hopes on this deal. They need it to work because the economy's struggling and they need wins. And now they're threatening to ban a platform owned by one of America's most prominent tech figures who happens to be closely aligned with President Trump. It's diplomatic strategy that makes Brexit negotiations look smooth. Young points out that this deal has already been put on hold, precisely because Ofcom, Britain's communications regulator, has been saber-rattling toward American tech companies over AI regulation. Ofcom thinks US-based AI should comply with all British censorship laws, which is an interesting position to take when you're trying to negotiate a massive tech trade deal. It's like trying to sell someone a car while simultaneously telling them their driving's terrible and they need to follow your specific rules or you'll take the car back. Not exactly a compelling sales pitch. The more Starmer insists Ofcom pursue this aggressive regulatory approach, the less likely that crucial trade deal is to happen. So we've got a government that desperately needs economic wins threatening to torpedo a major trade agreement to pursue a ban on a social media platform over problems that exist on multiple platforms, all while having a track record of U-turning on basically everything controversial they announce. It's almost impressive in its stupidity. And now America's getting properly involved, which is where this gets really interesting. Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who's a Trump ally, has issued a direct warning to Britain. If Starmer successfully bans X, she'll push forward legislation sanctioning not just Starmer, but Britain as a whole. That's not subtle diplomatic pressure. That's a threat of economic consequences for what she characterizes as a political war against Musk and free speech. Luna specifically mentioned that this would mirror actions previously taken against foreign governments restricting the platform, pointing to sanctions imposed on a Brazilian judge who temporarily blocked X. Those sanctions included tariffs, visa revocations, and various consequences tied to free speech concerns. So we're potentially looking at actual economic and diplomatic fallout if Starmer follows through on this threat. Starmer should reconsider this course of action or there will be consequences, Luna warned. That's not a suggestion, that's a promise. And given that Trump's back in the White House and has shown he's perfectly willing to use tariffs and sanctions as political tools, this isn't an empty threat. Britain could face real economic consequences for banning X, which would be absolutely hilarious in a tragic way because we'd be damaging our economy and trade relations to silence a government that's already catastrophically unpopular. Luna's absolutely right that this isn't about technical compliance, it's political. Nobody's buying the "we're just concerned about AI safety" line when the government is only targeting one specific platform that happens to be politically inconvenient. If they were genuinely concerned about AI-generated sexual material, they'd be creating comprehensive legislation that applies to all platforms and tools equally. But they're not because this was never really about safety. The timing here is particularly terrible for Starmer. Trump's just returned to office with a completely different approach to governance than his predecessor. He's got no problem using America's economic power to punish countries he feels are acting against American interests, or American companies. Elon Musk is closely aligned with Trump, has significant influence, and owns X. Threatening to ban that platform while trying to negotiate a massive tech trade deal and maintain the special relationship with America is diplomacy on the level of a toddler with a crayon. What's Starmer's play here? He can't actually ban X without facing enormous domestic backlash, potential American sanctions, and torpedoing important trade deals. But he's already made the threat, so backing down makes him look weak and reinforces the U-turn narrative. He's painted himself into a corner, which is becoming a specialty of this government. Make a bold statement, realize it's unworkable, scramble to find a way out that doesn't look like complete capitulation, fail, and end up doing a humiliating reversal anyway. Young's prediction of the U-turn is almost certainly correct. Starmer will announce it, start it, and then U-turn, because, quote, that's the way he rolls. It's not even criticism at this point, it's just pattern recognition, like predicting rain in Manchester or delays on Southern Rail. Betting on a Starmer U-turn has become the safest wager in British politics. You could make serious money if bookies offered odds on how long his policies last before being reversed. The context here is that Downing Street's threatened a crackdown on X over sexualized AI images created by Grok, the platform's AI chatbot. We covered this in another video, but the quick version is that Grok was being used to create non-consensual sexual imagery, including of minors, which is genuinely horrific and needs addressing. X restricted the feature to paying subscribers with verified identities, and now the government's talking about potentially blocking the entire platform. It's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, except the sledgehammer is made of foam and everyone knows you're not actually going to swing it anyway. Young's point about this being hard to take seriously is spot on. When a politician has built a track record of backing down from literally everything controversial they announce, their threats start sounding like a parent saying, "I'm going to count to 3 for the 15th time," while the kid knows absolutely nothing's going to happen. Starmer's furrowed-browed condemnation might look stern, but everyone's seen this performance before. He looks serious, sounds serious, and then folds like a cheap deck chair the moment there's pushback. The technical